Hello and welcome to the Bubble Hangout with me, Bubble Social Media Marketing Manager Lauren and our Digital Marketing Manager Amy.
Now this Hangout takes place once a month and in it we talk about everything digital. So we're going to shine a spotlight on some of the vacancies we've got on the site at the moment. We're also going to discuss some of our latest blogs and we're going to be answering your questions about digital careers.
If you want to submit a question during the Hangout, just click on the Q&A icon on your screen and send us your query and we will answer it during the advice section of the show.
Okay, so let's have a look at some of the jobs we've currently got on the site at the moment. Electricals and telecoms retailer Dixons Carphone are looking for people to join their teams in London and Stoke. Now, some of the roles they've got available include a senior digital campaigns manager, a senior campaign manager retention and life, a CRM analyst, analytics manager, senior CRM manager data integrity, data campaign manager, and head of CRM campaign strategy and planning. So if you're interested in finding out any more about those roles, just click on the link that's on your screen now.
Next up, digital agency Altitude Internet need 2 people to join their Stansted team as a digital marketing consultant PPC and SEO and sales executives PPC and SEO. So if this sounds up your street, again, just follow the link on your screen now to apply.
Okay, so next up, creative production agency Brickwall are looking for freelance graphic and web designers to join their teams in Leeds or London. So if you've got proven ability to develop designs from concept through to final deliverables, then this could be the role for you. So just click on the link to find out more and apply.
Okay, and finally, IT community and app company Spiceworks are looking for an account executive / sales account manager to join their team in London. So if you've got some B2B online digital media sales experience with a track record of hitting revenue targets, then this could be a really good job for you. So again, just click the link to apply.
Okay, so this month we've been writing a lot of blogs as ever, and one of the ones I've written is the things you should consider before you start to apply for jobs in the digital sector. Now, the digital sector is extremely vast. There are lots of roles available all throughout the country and around the world, in fact. So you need to really consider a few things before you just start applying for jobs, or you'll have no direction. And the first thing you really need to think about and consider is which area of digital is right for you. Now, the area is vast. There's jobs in things like e-commerce, graphic and web design, media, content and copywriting, SEO. So before you start to apply for jobs, you really need to think carefully about which sector is right for you. Now this will depend on things like your skills, where your passions lie, and your experiences. Our portal, our digital career portal, has lots of resources which should be able to help you narrow down your decision. The next thing you need to do once you've chosen your niche is you need to have a look at some of the job adverts that are currently out there for these kinds of roles and really have a look at what employers are looking for from candidates in this sector. When it comes to things like SEO and more technical roles like that, knowledge of things like Google Analytics is going to be key. So if you haven't got that on your CV and you are wanting to go into this area, it's definitely worth doing a bit of research and trying to get this experience on your CV before you start to apply for jobs, because it'll stand you in much better stead. Another thing you definitely need to consider is whether you want to go freelance or take a permanent job. Now, when it comes to starting the sector, I'd definitely say permanent is the way to go, mainly because it helps to get some big brands on your CV, which is what employers look for when they take on freelancers. Another big decision you have to make is whether you want to work in-house or client-side, or you want to work for a digital agency. Now, there are lots of pros and cons to both. So the right decision will obviously depend on what it is that you want from your career at this stage. But what I would say is that if you do work for an agency, you tend to get experience across a lot of brands, whereas if you work in-house, you tend to get experience with only obviously one brand, but you get more intense experience and you get to work on projects for longer. So that's definitely a key consideration that you need to make. And the last thing you really need to think about before you start applying for jobs in digital and start committing yourself to the sector is how much you actually want to work in the sector. While there is a bit of a digital skills shortage at the moment, and there are lots of jobs available, there's also a lot of competition. A lot of people want to work in this sector and have a passion for the sector. So it's really important, that if you do want to work in the sector, that you're committed and you're driven, and you have a passion for it above anything else.
Yeah, that's so important. And another blog that I wrote this month is about how graduates should prepare for their first job interview. Now we're getting to the time now where people are graduating and going to start applying for their first full-time career jobs. And the first proper job interview after leaving university is really, really daunting. And you might not be too sure how to approach it because you've never really had an interview that intense before. But the market is so competitive with graduates, so you have to prepare to be in with a chance of making it to the next stage. So here's a few tips. So first of all, make sure that you research the company that you're interviewing with. As you won't have much professional experience to talk about, seeing as you're just straight out of university, you need to take every opportunity that you can to impress the interviewer. So visiting their company website to read about recent news about the organisation and getting a feel for their ethos and culture, and then being able to talk about that at interview will really impress the interviewer and make it seem that you really want the job. Also, you can prepare answers to common interview questions. There's a few questions that always pop up in interviews, so it's a good idea to have some answers prepared so that your mind doesn't go blank as soon as you walk in and you're not caught out just sitting there saying nothing, basically. So preparing answers for things like, why do you want to work here, what motivates you, what sets you apart, blah, blah, blah. It's a really good idea. And actually, the interview advice section of our blog is full of advice about answers to, I think we covered most of the common interview questions. We're actually struggling to find some more. So yeah, it's really extensive and really useful for you to do that. Also, plan your journey. It's no use knowing where you need to be and then just doing the journey as soon as the interview comes around. You need to plan it in advance, know how long it's going to take you, know where there might be traffic, things like that. Use something like Google Maps to prepare the route that you need to take and leave with plenty of time. Even if you get there really ridiculously early and sit outside in your car and prepare, it's better than being late due to a traffic delay or something else. So yeah, just make sure that you plan well in advance. And then finally, another really good idea to prepare for your first job interview is to match up your skills and experience to the job description. Because you will have probably already done this in your cover letter, which is probably how you've got to the interview. But if you haven't, then it's a good idea just to go through the job requirements of the role and write down your suitability for it based on your skills and what the company's looking for in a candidate. This means that when you go into the room, you'll be really confident, really prepared, and really ready to sell yourself to the interviewer and give it your best shot.
Okay, so this is the point in the Hangout where you get to ask us questions about digital careers. So if you would like to ask us a question, all you have to do is submit it using the Q&A feature or in the chat box. Now, in the run-up to this Hangout, we've actually had a couple of questions in, so we're just going to talk through them now. And the first one is, I need to cut my CV down as it's too long, but I don't know where to start. What can I get rid of? Now, this is a really good question because an ideal CV should be no longer than 2 pages of A4, but I know a lot of people struggle to get it down to that point because they want to cram everything in and they don't want to leave anything out which might help them to get the job. But there are a few things that a lot of people include which are really not necessary on the CV. And the first thing that you should definitely not include, unless you're applying for a job as a model or something that requires you to look a certain way, is a photograph of yourself. This is a real bugbear of mine. I've seen so many CVs with cringy photographs on, and they just take up space. And if anything, they might end up working against you, unfortunately. So I definitely leave this one off, along with random things like your marital status. Someone's not more likely to take you on if you're married or single or have 3 children. It's really just irrelevant, and it just takes up space on your CV, which you could use more favourably and include things like how relevant your skills are to the role, etc. Another thing that you should leave off your CV is cliche hobbies. Oh, another bugbear of mine. Yeah. Yes, everyone likes exercising and hanging out with their friends and socialising. So if you include things like that, it just doesn't set you apart from anyone else, and it just makes you seem the same as everyone else, and it just wastes space. So definitely just leave it out. And the last thing you should probably leave off is details of any references or referees that the employer can contact. This is because it's fine to just say references are available upon request and then supply them at a later date. There's a couple of reasons for this. It takes up less space on your CV, obviously, but then if they do request your reference, then you can choose which referees you want to direct them to, and you can kind of give your referees a bit of a bit of a warning and say, you know, these people have asked for a reference, I've given them your contact details, this is what the job is, and then they might be able to provide you with a better reference as a result. So yeah, that's definitely what I would say on that one.
Yeah, great. Also, we've had another question in from someone who said, I'm currently working freelance and I want to go into a full-time position. How can I get employers to take me seriously as a permanent role candidate? Now, this is a really good question because making a transition from freelance to full-time is tricky. And so, because some employers might have some preconceptions about freelance employees, that they're like, don't like to be managed, or they might be quite flaky, might leave after a few months or whatever. But there are a few things that you can do to change these preconceptions and give yourself the best opportunity. So when you're applying, give them a reason for making the move into full-time on your application, because the employer will probably be wondering why you've been freelance for so long and now you want to work within a company. So as long as you explain why you want to do this, then that'll put their minds at rest. And it's better to be upfront because it shows that you're honest and trustworthy and you're not trying to hide anything. Second of all, sell yourself. Obviously, an employer might be worried that you don't like to be managed, you might not be able to work well on the team, things like that. So draw on the experience that you've had in full-time jobs in the past and promote that you have already experienced this kind of environment and you're comfortable with it and you're happy with it. And this will just, again, alleviate any concerns that the employer might have. Also, a good thing about freelancing is that freelancers tend to have a really varied skill set because they've worked with a large selection of clients across a large number of industries. So this is something that you'd really want to focus on your CV or job application, because it might just be something that will give you the edge over another candidate. And finally, make the most of networking. If you're worried that an employer won't take you seriously because you are a freelancer, get your foot in the door before you've officially applied for a job by making the most of the contacts that you've got via friends and family and on social networks like LinkedIn and Twitter, so that the person who you're contacting is more comfortable and they feel like they know you before you've handed in a traditional job application. So that would be the advice that I'd give.
Okay, so I don't think we've got any more questions in. So that's it for this month's Hangout. Thank you for joining us. All the links to the jobs and the blogs we mentioned will be in the Hangout description later this afternoon on YouTube.
Yeah, it will be. And thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next month for the next Hangout. Bye.
Bye.